Okay, so let us continue the topic of registration. In the last class, we have discussed section 24. 24 deals with compulsory registration. Now, if you remember section 22, in section 22, there are four subsections. The main subsection talks about aggregate turnover limit in section 22. If my aggregate turnover does not exceed 20 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees in case of 4 states, then I'm not liable for registration. But section 24 gives those cases where it does not matter what is your aggregate turnover, you are still liable for registration, and it is compulsory. Like non-resident taxable person, they have to take registration. It does not matter what is their aggregate turnover limit. Casual taxable persons, interstate suppliers, any person who is supplying the goods or services on behalf of other persons, OIDAR, online information and database access retrieval services suppliers, they have to take registration. Electronic commerce operators, etc., etc. There are so many persons who are mentioned within section 24 where they have to take compulsory registration irrespective of their aggregate turnover limit. So while reading section 24, I will not check the aggregate turnover limit, but I told you that 22, 23, 24, 25, these should be read together, not in isolation. So reading of section 24 is incomplete if I don't read section 23. Section 23, which already we have discussed, talks about those cases where there is no need to take registration. No need to take registration. So now I will start combining 23, section 23 within section 24. So let me share the screen now. So still the discussion is on section 24. If you remember, section 24 is compulsory registration. And there were so many points which were mentioned, but now I will start merging within section 24, section 23, subsection 2 also. This is what the new point is. This section deals with no registration situations where there is no need to take registration. So I will start merging 23 to within section 24. So do you remember now? I have discussed with you 24 in the last class, but not in detail. Let me show you. This is what I have discussed in the last class. This is what I have discussed in the last class. Some persons who are supposed to take compulsory registration, but there are some exemptions available. Similarly, there are some exemptions available. So I need to discuss these now. Then, if you remember section 23 also, I have covered some points: exclusive supply, agriculturist, and some notifications, but I have not covered all the notifications. I have only covered with you in last to last lecture when I was discussing 23, 4 notifications only. These 4 notifications I have discussed earlier as far as section 23 is concerned. But now I will discuss 2 more. So technically I will again discuss in detail 23 as well as 24 but now in full detail, and today we will complete these two sections. So let me start writing now, and you have to remember only. Now if you remember, what was my point 1? Who have to take compulsory registration? Those persons who are engaged in interstate supply. Persons who are engaged in interstate supplies, they are supposed to take compulsory registration. However, now this however is what section 23 is. However, as per section 23 subsection 2, the following persons are exempt from registration. This is what the application of section 23(2) within 24. So you cannot read section 24 in isolation. You have to use your knowledge of 23(2). Now 24 first point says that everyone who is engaged in interstate supply, interstate, not intra, interstate supply, they have to take registration. But in 3 cases there is an exemption. Even in case of interstate supply, no need to take registration. So I'm discussing those 3 cases now. First point. Any person who is engaged in interstate supplies of taxable services, interstate supplies of taxable services. Act says that every person who is engaged in interstate supply is supposed to take registration. But exemption says if you are engaged in supplying services and if your aggregate turnover does not exceed how much? 20 lakhs or rupees 10 lakh in those 4 states, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura, then no need to take registration. This is my first exemption. So this point is basically I am using from section 23 to notification. I hope this point is clear. Next point. Any person now everywhere I will use interstate because the heading is what? First point heading says interstate, so all exemption I will talk about those which are interstate. So every person who is engaged in interstate supplies of notified handicraft goods. Handicraft means those where human labor is more and machines work is negligible. Interstate supplies of notified handicraft goods and if same thing aggregate turnover does not exceed 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs as the case may be, then also I'm not supposed to take any registration. And when I say person, it includes every person, including, I will tell you why I'm writing this point, including a casual taxable person. So this is also I'm using from section 23(2). So when you are doing this thing, you are covering the answer of 2 concepts basically, not only 24 but also 23(2), and these are useful in practical life also. These are not only for theoretical purpose, these are practical life purposes, so that you can explain to any person who is asking you or seeking your advice that whether that person is required to take registration or not. Now third point related to job workers. Job workers, again I told you that interstate is used in every concept because my first heading is interstate. So who are engaged in interstate supply Now job worker is only supplying services. Interstate supplier of services to a registered person, then not required to take compulsory registration because of exemption granted as per the notification issued under section 23(2). This point I haven't discussed with you in the last lecture. So now it is a detailed discussion of 24 as well as 23. So every interstate supplier has to take compulsory registration irrespective of turnover limit, but 3 cases are exempted even if interstate suppliers. First point, as I have discussed with you, if you are supplying services and if your turnover does not exceed the limit. Second point, if you are supplying notified handicraft goods and if your turnover does not exceed the limit. Third point, if you are a job worker and if you are supplying your services to a registered person. However, 3 types of job workers, if engaged in interstate supply, are not exempt from registration. However, in the following cases, exemption to a job worker is not available. Exemption from what? From what? In the following 3, I will tell you now 3 situations where a job worker cannot claim the benefit of this exemption. First point, if aggregate turnover of this job worker exceeds rupees 20 lakh or 10 lakh as the case may be. Second point, if the job worker is himself interested in taking registration, opts to voluntary registration, then there is no problem. If you yourself is interested, if you are yourself interested, then government says no problem. Opts to voluntarily take the registration. Third, if job worker supplies the services relating to goods like jewelry, then also the job worker cannot claim the benefit of this exemption. Now, my first heading of section 24 over. Interstate suppliers must take registration, but in 3 cases, interstate suppliers are exempt from registration. That's it. Now, what was my second point, if you remember? Casual taxable person. Casual taxable persons making taxable supply. These are not exempt from registration. They have to take registration. However, again, same thing. However, as per section 23(2), CTPs, casual taxable persons are exempt from obtaining registration. And do you remember which point I will copy? As it is this point. That is why separately I wrote there, casual taxable. I will copy as it is. Every casual taxable person supplying interstate, if engaged in interstate supply of notified handicraft goods and if aggregate turnover does not exceed 20 lakhs or 10 lakh as the case may be. Now why I am repeating this point? Because the heading is separately saying that casual taxable person. So had I not written this point here, you would have assumed that if casual taxable person is supplying notified handicraft goods, and even if the turnover does not exceed 20 lakh or 10 lakh, you would have assumed that these people require registration. But it is necessary to repeat the same point there, because at that time the purpose was to mention interstate. Okay, and now in this heading the purpose is to mention not interstate, casual taxable person. That is why the same point is here. So that means I have also copied this point of section 23.2. That is why I cannot read this 24 in isolation. I have to read it in this way. Third point, every person who is liable to pay tax under reverse charge, liable to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism or reverse charge basis. And do you know which sections are of reverse charge? For intrastate and for interstate. For intrastate, the sections are 9.3 and 9.4. For interstate, the sections are 5.3 and 5.4 of IGST Act. If you remember these under these sections, the recipient is liable to pay the tax. So by default, if you are that person who is liable to pay the tax under reverse charge, you have to take registration. It does not matter what is your turnover. Even if you are purchasing a product of 10,000 rupees, if you are covered under reverse charge, you have to pay the tax. That is why every person who is liable to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism is supposed to take compulsory GST registration. Fourth point, these all are section 24 going on. Non-resident taxable person, no exemption. Every non-resident taxable person, irrespective of the turnover limit, has to take registration. Fifth point, every person who is supplying the goods on behalf of other person, every person who is supplying, no exemption available, on behalf of other taxable person, has to take registration. No choice. Whether they supplies as an agent or otherwise, doesn't matter. Sixth point, every person who is supposed to deduct tax at source, every person who is supposed to deduct tax at source under section 51 is supposed to take GST registration. Every person supplying OIDAR services, every person supplying online information and database access retrieval services, is supposed to take GST registration. Your voice is not coming properly. Input service distributor. ISD. Your voice is not coming properly. If any other student can understand what this person is saying, any other student can tell me right now. Otherwise, I cannot listen that voice. And ninth point is what? These all are section 24 cases going on. So if you remember carefully in section 24, for interstate supply, I use section 23.2. For casual taxable person, I use section 23.2. Otherwise, all other are clear-cut cases where there is no exemption. You have to take registration. Ninth is electronic commerce operator.
Sir, he was saying to show the previous slide.
Okay, let me show. Please see. Is it or the previous one? I still cannot listen. Can that girl again tell me what he is saying? Shall I proceed or shall I wait?
Sir, you can proceed.
Okay. Now, electronic commerce operator. Now, if you remember electronic commerce operator, these are like platforms, Amazon, Snapdeal, etc. I have discussed this in section 9 subsection 5 and 5 subsection 5 of IGST. When some services are supplied through electronic commerce operator, then electronic commerce operator is under the obligation to pay the tax to the government of India. Now, ECOs have to take registration. Which ECOs? So there are two different categories of electronic commerce operator. Every ECO who is required to collect tax at source under section 52. Every ECO who is required to collect tax at source under section 52. Actually, section 51 talks about TDS people who have to deduct tax at source, and section 52 talks about TCS cases, persons who are supposed to collect tax at source. So every electronic commerce operator who is under the obligation under section 52 to collect tax at source is supposed to take registration. Why? Because if I am supposed to collect tax at source, then how will I deposit that tax with the government of India if I don't have registration? So compulsory. Then every ECO through which suppliers are engaged in intrastate supply. You can relate it with section 9.5. In intrastate supply of three services. Do you remember those three services under 9 subsection 5? Those services are accommodation services, transportation of passengers, and housekeeping services. I hope you remember. I hope you remember. Now I have written the word here intrastate. So this ECO also need to take the registration. This ECO also need to take the registration. Now, do you know why this ECO is supposed to take registration? So it's only for knowledge purpose if you don't remember exactly. What was section 9.5? In 9.5, if you are a supplier of which services? Accommodation, passengers, housekeeping. If you are a supplier of these services to this recipient, but not directly, but through whom? ECO. Through ECO you are supplying the services. Then you are not supposed to pay tax if you are not registered, but ECO has to deposit the tax under 9.5, and that is why it is written here. So how this ECO will deposit the tax with the government of India under 9.5 if that ECO itself is not registered? That is why it was necessary that every ECO through whom services of these accommodation, housekeeping, and transportation of passengers are supplied, that ECO must be a registered person. Now please raise your hand if this point is clear, then I will proceed to the next point. Please raise your hand if this point is clear. So almost all of you have studied, have understood this point. So it's great. It's great. Okay, let me come back to the last point now. So again, let us make a quick revision of section 24. All persons making interstate supply are compulsory required, but in 3 cases there are exemption. If I'm supplying services and my turnover does not exceed the limit of 20 lakh or 10 lakh. If I am engaged in supplying handicraft notified goods and my turnover does not exceed the limit of 20 lakh or 10 lakh. If I'm a job worker who is supplying the services to a registered person and if my turnover does not exceed the limit. However, if my turnover exceeds the limit, then I cannot take the exemption benefit. If I myself want to take registration as a job worker, then of course no one can stop me from taking registration. If I am supplying my services in relation to the work of diamonds, jewelry, etc., then also does not matter what is my aggregate turnover, I need to take registration. This was my first compulsory registration case. Second, casual taxable persons must take registration. In one case there is an exemption if casual taxable persons are supplying notified handicraft goods and if their turnover does not exceed the limit of 20 lakh or 10 lakh. Every person who is liable to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism has to take registration. It does not matter what is the aggregate turnover. Non-resident taxable person has to take registration irrespective of aggregate turnover. Any person supplying goods or services on behalf of other person in the capacity of agent or otherwise has to take registration irrespective of turnover. Every person who is supposed to deduct tax at source has to take registration irrespective of turnover. Person supplying OIDAR services has to take registration irrespective of turnover. Every input service distributor has to take registration irrespective of turnover. 2 types of electronic commerce operators have to take registration. First, every electronic commerce operator who is supposed to collect tax at source under section 52 has to take registration, and every electronic commerce operator through whom interstate supplies are happening of 3 services: accommodation, housekeeping, and transportation of passengers. Then also this issue through whom intrastate supplies of these services are happening, this issue must take registration. Now, last point number 10. Now, think logically. What about these persons? Think logically. What about these persons? These persons means what? Now, I'm using this in point number 10. There are so many services. We don't have only accommodation service, housekeeping services, and passenger service. There are hundreds and lakhs of services which can be supplied through electronic commerce operator. So what about these persons? Under section 9 subsection 5 or 5 subsection 5, only 3 services are covered where ECO has to pay the tax. Now suppose I am supplying educational services. I am taking lectures, for example, through online platform. I am taking lectures, for example, through online platform. Now taking lecture through online platform through electronic commerce operator, it's an example only. Or maybe you are engaged in supplying any other services rather than accommodation, housekeeping, and transportation of passenger. Maybe you are engaged in transportation of goods rather than lecture. Let us assume this example. Maybe you are engaged in transportation of goods through electronic commerce operator. So who will deposit the tax in that case? Can anyone tell me? And any supplier of services or any supplier of goods or services, not only services, you can say, I can supply goods also. There are so many platforms from where you can purchase the goods. You can purchase the laptop from electronic commerce platform. You can purchase the study table from electronic commerce operator. You can purchase any goods. loudspeakers you can purchase, dress you can purchase, shoes you can purchase. There are hundreds and lakhs of supplies which can happen through electronic commerce operator. Can anyone tell me in case of supply of goods or supply of any service other than these three, accommodation, housekeeping and passengers, through ECO, whose obligation is this to deposit tax with the government of India? It's simple question. Think and tell me. Any supply of goods or services except these three services through electronic commerce operator, who will deposit the GST with the government of India? Please tell. And please tell. It is necessary to clear the confusion which can arise. Anyone who can tell, please unmute and try to reply. Who will deposit the tax? Suppose I have a furniture shop in Delhi. I have a furniture shop. I am selling my furniture through Amazon, and the goods and my furniture is being purchased in Chennai. So as a supplier of furniture through electronic commerce operator, can you tell me in this case whose obligation is this to deposit the GST with the government of India? Please try to reply in my example. Try to reply. Whose obligation is this to deposit GST with the government of India if, as a supplier of furniture shop, I am selling my furniture through Amazon? Who will deposit the tax? Anyone who can tell me. Mansi Sagar, can you try to tell me who will deposit the tax in this example? If my voice is coming to you and if you know the concept.
Hello.
Yes, Mansi, can you tell me in this case?
Sir, there was some network disturbance. Can you please repeat the question?
Okay, I am a furniture shop owner. I have furniture shop in Delhi. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
I am supplying my furniture through Amazon, and suppose you are purchasing the furniture from me through Amazon.
Yes, sir.
The furniture is of 50,000 rupees, and for example, 18% is the GST. So on 50,000, if you go by 18%, around 9,000 is what? GST, which you will pay. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Now my question is, who will deposit this 9,000? Whose obligation is this to deposit 9,000 with the government of India? That is my question.
Sir, I think Amazon will deposit.
No, wrong answer. Any other who can tell me? I will tell you, Mansi, why it is wrong. Anyone who can tell me? Rishabh Jalan, can you try to tell me, Rishabh? Rishabh, can you try to tell me if you are...
So I'm not particularly sure, but I think the supplier itself would be paying the GST.
Okay, let me tell you the correct answer later on. Diksha, can you try to tell me who will deposit the tax with the government of India?
Sure, maybe Amazon.
Amazon is the wrong answer. Prachi, can you tell me? Are you still with the Amazon?
Sir, I think the supplier will deposit.
Why? Can you tell me the reason also?
Sir, because ECO is liable in only these cases, accommodation and housekeeping. So other
Very
cases,
good.
the supplier
Very
is
good.
liable.
Very good. Yes, this is the answer. Rishabh, this is the answer. Now let me share the screen and then let me tell you what I am asking. That was a very simple question. You need to practice GST. Don't prepare it for the purpose of examination only. You need to practice. You need to be an expert in any subject which you are studying. You don't know, after 10 years it can be used. Now before discussing point number 10, now let me not discuss point number 10. Let me do some basic discussion. So just a discussion so as to make you remember that what I asked, you should be confident. I simply asked that this person is the supplier having furniture shop. This person is the consumer. I sold my furniture through Amazon. In GST, Amazon will be known as electronic commerce operator. Whatever GST I have collected, whatever GST is paid by my consumer, who will deposit the tax? There are only 3 cases of deposit tax. I told you in the first or second class, either forward charge or reverse charge or ECO. There are only these 3 cases. इसके अलावा कोई और हो ही नहीं सकता है. There cannot be any third person or ECO. Either ECO will has to pay or this person or this person. Forward charge means what? Where supplier pays. So if it is intrastate supply, then section is 9(1). Simple, one section for intrastate supply. In case of interstate supply, 5(1). Reverse charge 9(3), 9(4). Intrastate 5(3), 5(4). Interstate. ECO, if it is intrastate, 9(5). These are the only sections. Entire GST revolves around this. Others are procedures only. 5(5). Inter. And in ECO, do you know only supply of services is covered? Goods are not at all covered. Only supply of services are covered. Goods not at all covered, even if you supply through ECO. Not covered. And in fact, within services also, only 3 services are covered. Accommodation, and transportation of passengers, and housekeeping. In these cases only ECO will pay. And do you know within these cases what is the condition? That the supplier must not be registered. In case supplier himself or itself is registered, then also ECO will not pay the tax. Supplier will pay. Supplier must be unregistered. Only then it is ECO's obligation to deposit the tax. If the supplier, even in these services, are registered, then also supplier will pay. So reverse charge are special cases. So by default, 99.99% cases always supplier will deposit. That is why in this case furniture shop owner will deposit. Please raise your hand if the concept is clear. You have to revise the concepts. Please raise your hand if you got the concept with reference sections also. Anyone can give you the answer, but no, most of the people will not give you the answer with references, and that is why in court cases normally who wins, who has the knowledge of that particular act or constitution. Just because someone as a layman is saying something is not acceptable in a court of law. Everything must be based on some reference. You cannot simply make general argument without having any background or any concrete work. So that is why when I say that in my example that supplier pays, I must know that supplier will pay either as per section 9(1) or 5(1) depending upon which supply is this. Now in this case the supply was interstate, Delhi, Chennai. Further, you must know that why ECO will not pay the tax under section 9(5) or 5(5). ECO will pay the tax only in case of 3 supplies, and even then in case of these 3 supplies of services when the supplier itself is not registered, only then the ECO pays. So I hope the concept is clear. Now let me proceed to my section 24. Let me come back to my section 24. Now what I want to tell you now. Now in the same example, this supplier has to pay the tax, but when this supplier will pay? When this supplier is registered. Otherwise, how will he pay? I hope you are getting my point. This is what I will explain to you now. In my example, I got to know that supplier will pay, but when supplier will pay? When supplier is registered, and that is why section 24 10th point says that any person any person supplying goods through ECU. This is basically any person supplying goods or services through ECU where ECU is required to collect tax at source. Now, when any supply happens through electronic commerce operator under section 52, they have to collect 0.5% of the value or 1% of the value as tax collected at source. Now, that I will tell you later on, because in this way government can trace every supplier, because there may be 1 crore suppliers supplying the product through Amazon. If Amazon simply collects tax, even a nominal amount of tax, still the suppliers are traced electronically. I don't know whether you have understood this point or not, but let me discuss this TCS tax collected at source provision later on in detail. Every person supplying goods or services through ECU where ECU is required to collect tax at source. Now do remember one thing, here also ECU is coming into picture, but I'm not talking about whether ECU should take registration or not. Here ECU is also coming into picture. I'm not talking about whether ECU should take registration. I'm talking about the supplier. Because do you know, the ECU which is coming here has already taken the registration, has already been compulsory made to register under 9A. I hope you are understanding my point. I'm using the point that any person who is supplying goods through ECU where ECU has to collect tax at source. So that ECU which has to collect tax at source, that has been compulsory registered already under 9A. So now ECU is used, but technically I'm not talking about ECU. I'm raising the question on this person. I'm saying that this person has to take a registration who is supplying goods and services through electronic commerce operator. But there is an exemption. And now I will use section. However, as per as per section, logically you should try to tell, as per section 23(2), the following persons are not, I will use the following persons are not say the following persons are exempt from registration. So it's continuing. Okay, it is continuing. Following persons are exempt from. I will take 15 minutes more today because I want to wind up section 23 also. So please cooperate from registration. Now, can you tell me logically? You have to think and analyze the provisions to yourself. I am saying that every person who is supplying goods and services through ECU, where ECU is required to collect tax at source, has to take compulsory registration. But I'm still saying that there is an exemption. Can anyone try to tell me who are those persons which should be exempted as per the notification? Because you have to think rationally and logically. If in future you frame these notifications yourself, then you have to think in this direction. So just don't be an expert by reading something. Try to frame your own language also. I'm saying that some person who is supplying the goods and services through ECU is exempt. Can you think logically that who is that person who will be exempted? Can you think logically? If you think logically, you can try to find the reason. Can you think logically who will be that person who will be exempted? Anyone within 1 minute, can you try to tell me who will be that person who should be exempted logically? Try to think. The answer lies in this example which I have discussed. The answer lies in this chart. The answer lies in this chart which is showing here. The answer lies in this chart. You should learn the art of framing your own notifications in future for the entire nation. Maybe tomorrow you'll get a post where you have to run the entire country. Then you have to think in this direction of analysis. Your answer lies, the answer of this point lies in this format. Can anyone try to tell me? Answer lies within. Can anyone try to tell me? Okay, so let me tell you the answer. Logically, any person who is supplying services of accommodation, transportation and housekeeping under section 9(5), which is intrastate, where ECO will pay the tax. So why this person should be asked to register? Why this person should be asked to register? So who is that person then who will be exempt from registration? Any person supplying intrastate services. Which services? Accommodation, passengers and housekeeping through ECO where through ECO, and if aggregate turnover does not exceed 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs, then why as a supplier I should also be put under the obligation of the compulsory registration? Because I don't have to deposit the tax with the government of India. ECO will pay. I hope this point is clear. These are the 10 points, and 11th point is not at all notified, but government has kept 11th point open, that any time government can notify any other people also. These 10 are written in the act. 11th, anytime government can specify, that's it. So I'm not discussing that, there is no specification. These are the only 10 points. And now this exemption is also used in section, also as per section 23(2). I hope it is clear. Let me proceed to wind up section 23 also. I have already covered that, but now it will be comprehensive and complete. No registration required. If you remember, can you try to tell me? No registration required. Even if aggregate turnover is 100 crore rupees, no registration required. Do you know what was the first point? Supplying those goods and services, supplying exclusively those goods and services which are exempt or nil rate of tax or not leviable under GST laws. If you are a supplier of these goods and services, you don't need any registration. Second, if you are an agriculturist, then you don't need a registration. Agriculturist. Third, through notifications also government can make so many people exempt, and I have discussed so many notifications. Can you tell me which notifications? This notification is my first notification. Interstate supplies of services. So I'm using same. First notification was any person interstate supply of services, and if aggregate turnover is less than 20 lakh or 10 lakh. So same notification. That is why I say that you cannot read these sections in isolation. You have to apply your knowledge of 23 also. Similarly, same notifications. This notification of person including casual taxable person. Same notifications. So if section 23 is asked, you have to tell these notifications. Every person including what? Casual taxable person supplying interstate notified handicraft goods. So it makes your work easy because same things are used. Notified handicraft goods and same thing. If aggregate turnover is less than 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs, as the case may be. Similarly, third point, if you remember, same points. Job worker, job workers supplying interstate services to a registered person. Exempt. However, no exemption in 3 cases. However, a job worker is not exempt from registration in the following cases. So what are those? When the aggregate turnover of job worker exceeds rupees 20 lakhs or rupees 10 lakhs. If the job worker want to take the registration, voluntary registration, and if the job worker is supplying services related to jewelry, related to goods like jewelry, no exemption, even if turnover does not exceed. So I have discussed 3 notifications. Now 4th notification, same thing, which are used earlier, same thing. 4th notification is this one. Now I have technically used this casual taxable person notification already in my B notification. So here I have merged these two. So technically there is no need to repeat that point because those two are same. Okay. I hope you are understanding. I am a little bit fast, keeping in mind the time limitation. And this notification now, this ECO notification, every person supplying intrastate services of accommodation, passenger, and housekeeping through ECO and if aggregate turnover of person supplying services does not exceed 20 lakhs or 10 lakh, as the case may be. Now these 4 are common for section 24. Now other notifications which are separate, like what? Every person who is supplying those goods and services supplying intrastate, those goods and services which are taxable on reverse charge basis, under section 9.3. Now do remember that for reverse charge there are 4 sections, 9.3 and 9.4, 5.3 and 5.4 of IGST. Okay, so there are 4 sections, but exemption is only available to this supplier. No exemption is available to these suppliers. If you are a supplier whose intrastate supply is covered under reverse charge, where recipient will pay the tax, then you are not supposed to take registration. Even if you are supplying the product of any limit, it does not matter. You are exempt from registration. But that exemption is not available to other suppliers. Even if your supplies are covered under reverse charge mechanism, still it does not mean that you are also exempt as a supplier. I hope you are getting my point. This person is a supplier and this person is a recipient. Now I have to pay the tax maybe under 93, 94, 53 or 54. So if I need to pay the tax, then why the supplier should be made compulsory, liable for compulsory registration? Government says you are exempt only if your supply is covered under 9(3). That means only intra. If you are that supplier whose supply is covered under 9(4) or 5(3) or 5(4), then you are not exempt from registration. Then you have to read the other provisions, whether you are liable to register or not. But this exemption notification is not available for such supplies. This exemption notification, okay, benefit of this notification is only available to this supply of 9(3). That's it. I think you are not getting this point. Maybe it takes some time for you to again grab this, again catch the grip of this point E. If you are not understanding this point, then you need to learn 23 and 24 in detail. Revise it and then I can make you understand exactly what this point is all about. Now F point, that means it is also another notification. So these notifications are those which are already used. These are already used. You must remember this to avoid confusion in section 24. Similarly, this notification is already used in section 24, but this is total new notification used only in 23(2). This is also new notification used only in 23(2). Now do you remember this F? Any person who is exclusively supplying goods, I have told you this earlier also, exclusively supply goods, and if aggregate turnover does not exceed, sorry for being little bit late, but I have to wind up this point. Aggregate turnover does not exceed 40, then also there is no need to registration. However, this exemption is not available to following. In case of following is not available in the following cases. So which are those? Point A. Every person who has to take compulsory registration cannot take the benefit of this exemption notification. Cannot. He has to take registration under section 24. Similarly, if you are a manufacturer of what? Tobacco. Not manufacturer, you can say if you are a supplier of tobacco, pan masala, ice cream, cannot take the benefit of this notification. Even if you are supplying the exclusively in goods and your turnover even if does not exceed 40 lakh, you cannot take the benefit of this exemption notification. Then if you want to take yourself voluntary registration, then we cannot stop you. Government cannot stop you. If you are already registered person, but you want to your intention is to continue the registration, government says no problem, take it then, continue it, to continue registration. If you are engaged in intrastate supply, supplies in the states, these 4 states where the limit is 10 lakh, if you are engaged in intrastate supply in the states of Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura, you cannot take the benefit of this exclusive goods and turnover limit. If you are engaged in intrastate supply in other 6 states, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Telangana, Uttarakhand, Puducherry, Meghalaya. You have to learn these words. So this is also a notification. Then that's it. I think that's it. So these 6 notifications you must learn in section 23. 4 we will use in section 24. Remaining 2 only remain in section 23. That's all from my side. The class is a little bit late, but it was necessary to complete it. In the next class we will start from next section. I hope you please start having a look at the concepts which we have covered from any material you have, and please get back to me for any discussion. We'll start from section 25. In case we face any problem, give me a call without any hesitation. Goodbye.